All right, let's get into the work of sociologist Émile Durkheim, specifically his theory of punishment. Now, this is one of the most influential ideas in sociology, but it's also, one of the most misunderstood. Durkheim's big idea was that punishment isn't just a simple reaction to crime. It's actually something way more fundamental to how society even holds itself together.
So, let's start with the most basic question of all. Why do we punish people? I mean, it seems simple, right? It's the whole basis for our justice system. But really think about it for a second. What's the real goal when we lock someone up or slap them with a fine? The usual answers pop into your head pretty fast. We do it to stop other people from committing the same crime, right? Or maybe for a sense of revenge, some retribution. Or, just to keep dangerous people off the streets and make society safer. And look, those all seem like perfectly logical, practical reasons.
But Émile Durkheim, he looked at all these common sense answers and basically said, nope, that's not the whole story, not even close. He argued that the true function of punishment is something much, much deeper, something that actually has less to do with the criminal and everything to do with the rest of us.
And this brings us to his first really key idea. For Durkheim, punishment is not primarily a tool to control crime. Its real job, its most important function, is to maintain social order and reinforce the bonds that hold us all together.
It's this amazing feedback loop. As the sociologist David Garland puts it, our shared moral bonds are what demand punishment in the first place, and then the act of punishment actually goes back and strengthens those very same bonds. It's a cycle.
Durkheim called this the paradox of utility, and it does seem like a total contradiction, doesn't it? I mean, how can an act of division, of casting someone out, of punishing them, actually bring the rest of the group closer together? Well, he said that by punishing someone who breaks our shared rules, we're putting on a public display. We're reminding everyone in the group what we stand for and what it means to belong here. So, what are these shared values we keep talking about? To really get that, we need to dig into what Durkheim saw as the absolute engine of social life. He called it the conscience collective. The conscious collective is basically a society's moral immune system. It's the sum of all the shared beliefs, morals, and attitudes that we all kind of just agree on. It's that gut feeling of, we all know this is wrong, that exists way before any law gets written down. It is the very moral fabric of a society.
So from this point of view, a crime is way more than just breaking a law. It's a direct attack on the shared moral consciousness. It's like a wound to the soul of the group. And when the group is wounded like that, it feels this passionate, emotional need to react, not just to fix the damage, but to heal that moral injury. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Durkheim saw this whole process playing out differently across history. He argued that the way a society punishes people tells you a whole lot about what kind of society it is. Okay, so he compared what he called simple societies with modern ones. In those simple societies, everyone's held together because they're all basically the same. They share these really rigid, often religious beliefs. The collective conscience is super strong. So a crime isn't just against a person, it's an offense against God or the gods, and the punishment, it's got to be harsh, severe, and repressive to make things right with that higher power. But in modern, complex societies like ours, we're held together by how much we need each other, the division of labor. Our collective conscience is more flexible, it's focused on individual rights and freedom. So crime becomes an offense against other people, and punishment becomes less about inflicting pain and way more about taking away that precious liberty.
And that's exactly why we see this massive historical shift, right? Away from things like public executions and physical torture and towards prison. Incarceration becomes the ultimate modern punishment precisely because freedom and liberty are what we value most. So taking those things away is the most powerful statement our modern conscious collective can make.
Okay, so this brings us to another huge piece of the puzzle, your role in all this. For Durkheim, punishment is never just a cold transaction between the government and an offender. No, it's a public performance. It's a social ritual. He actually identified 3 key players in what he called the penal field. First, you've got the controller. That's the state, the government, the one setting and enforcing the rules. Then, of course, you have the controlled. That's the offender who breaks the rules. But the third player is the one he said is absolutely crucial, the onlooker. And guess what? That's us. That's the public. Because without the moral outrage from us, the onlookers, punishment just loses all its social power. That collective anger, that feeling of how could they do that, that is the fuel in the engine. It's what gives the state the green light to act.
and what turns a boring administrative procedure into a powerful, meaningful ritual that reminds us all who we are.
Now, of course, like any big theory, Durkheim's work has its critics. It's not perfect, but his core ideas have just profoundly shaped how we think about the sociology of punishment today.
So, what are the issues? Well, critics point out that he might have oversimplified the differences between societies. Some of his historical data has been challenged, and people debate whether a theory focused on ancient or really small-scale societies can perfectly apply to our crazy complex world. And, those are all very fair points to think about.
But even with those critiques, Durkheim's central insight is still incredibly powerful. His real legacy was that he completely reframed the conversation. He forced us to look past the simple idea of stopping crime and to see punishment for what it really is, a deeply moral, symbolic, and ritualistic act that's essential for a healthy society.
And this is what I want to leave you with. The next time you see a news story about a big trial or a controversial sentence, try looking at it through Durkheim's eyes. Don't just ask yourself, will this punishment stop crime? Instead, ask, what shared belief was attacked here? What moral line in the sand is society trying to redraw? And most importantly, what shared value is so important to us that we feel this powerful need to defend it? The answer just might tell you more about us than it does about the criminal.